Good evening, everyone. My name is Janine Sanger, and I am the director of the Webster Health and Education Network, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about establishing a smoke-free park policy here in Webster. To protect workers and the public from secondhand smoke, many state, county, and municipal governments have implemented smoke-free laws, as you know, to prohibit indoor smoking in workplaces and other indoor public spaces. In addition to eliminating exposure to the thousands of chemicals found in secondhand smoke, smoke-free laws have also had a positive impact on helping smokers quit, on preventing children and adolescents from ever starting. Smoke-free laws actually prompt more smokers to try to quit, increase the number of successful quit attempts, reduce the number of cigarettes that continuing smokers consume, and discourage kids from ever starting to smoke. I think it is important to note that the following areas in our community have established smoke-free policies. All City of Rochester Parks and Grounds, Parrington, Irondequoit, Brighton, Henrietta, Rush, Ogden, Wheatland, and Brockport. And another important piece to note is that with the legalization of recreational marijuana, wherever folks are permitted to smoke cigarettes, they will be permitted to smoke marijuana. So that's something that has prompted us to look at this possible policy again. And I'm welcoming to any questions or discussion. I know that Lexi has sent each of you some information on this so that you've had a chance to look at it prior. But I'm open to any questions you might have. Hi, Lexi. Come on up. You're not stuck out west?
No.
But your left charger is?
Oh, good, yeah.
So I'm Lexi Popovich. I work for the American Lung Association. I've been here before with Janine, speaking about other tobacco control policy related issues. And just kind of to reiterate what Janine was saying, you know, we're really pro-health and pro-wellness and really to protect youth and young adults in, you know, all areas and all municipalities of Monroe County. Again, with some of the parks or towns that have passed tobacco-free grounds and parks, they have noticed, you know, their strive to really be a community for wellness and really protecting the environment, protecting youth from, you know, signaling that the norm is okay to use these products and use e-cigarettes and use tobacco and then along with marijuana. I think that's an important piece. So we really just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the risks that this causes in terms of, you know, just tobacco in general. You know, it's 2021, we all have established, you know, the harms and dangers of it, but to really protect our youth and protect our parks, I think this is an important step. And it just, you know, shows as community leaders, you know, what your beliefs and your mission and values are. And I think that's something that this would be a powerful step. And a lot of other towns and villages have been probably kind of moving in that direction, and, you know, they were applauded for that. So we just appreciate the time and consideration for this, and any questions and commentary will be open. Thank you.
Bill? I have opposing views of this. I think we're taking rights away from people. I just believe that somebody who wants to smoke should be able to smoke in an open area. It's wide open land. The fumes aren't going to spread more than 10 feet. And I just have a feeling that I think you're being overzealous in this aspect. That's just my personal opinion.
Of course. I would say with that, you know, I am an asthma sufferer. I do run in a lot of parks and trails in the county, and as an asthma sufferer, you know, I do run across a lot of people that are using tobacco products, and that does affect me. It does drift farther than 10 feet. In general, I just think, you know, there's litter that this exposes, and we're not taking away the rights of people who smoke, because, you know, everyone has the right to use any product, but we're trying to protect the people who don't want to use those products and who don't want to be exposed to those secondhand uses. So we're kind of just focusing on that, and, you know, we are supportive of, you know, whatever people's choices are, but, you know, just not areas where youth congregate and where other people for health-related activities congregate. It's kind of our focus.
I would also say that I choose not to use those products
if I'm in a public space, whether it be inside or outside where people are smoking, I no longer have that choice because now it's affecting me. Yes, it might be wide open space, but if I want to walk through there, now I'm exposed to that secondhand smoke. I think this is a great move. I have been working with Gwen for quite a while because I believe in a healthy community, and it's an idea that I support.
Eric?
I don't oppose this action.
John?
I kind of agree with Bill in the fact that you are taking people's rights away. If you are not allowing them to smoke in parks, that is a right that you're taking away from them. I don't support smoking inside or outside, but one is enough. I don't know. I think it's a great idea that people will smoke inside, but when you're outside, it's open air. I struggle with this, to be honest.
And by the way, since tonight is a workshop, and we're not voting on anything, certainly Charlie or Mary or Josh or Rick, Art, or anybody else have any thoughts and comments on this? I mean, these are free-flowing conversations.
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
All right,
So,
Charlie.
I'm on, first of all, ladies, are you also talking about vaping?
Yes, yes.
So any kind of vaping, whether it's tobacco or marijuana or anything else, would be included. Are you seeking a ban in town-owned parks? What exactly are you seeking in this?
Right, good question. So usually the towns we work with, Brighton, Arundel, Harrington, they pass 100% tobacco and vape-free spaces. So that would include all, town and village areas, and obviously here it's a town, parks and grounds. So basically, they set that up because they didn't want people affected by secondhand smoke or vaping, and they were noticing a lot of youth were coming and using these products at parks. And again, that's an addiction, and with the epidemic of the e-cigarettes, that kind of pushed a lot of these towns forward on this. So yes, some places do have smoking huts. That's, I work with colleges. U of R has done a smoking hut, 2 of them, on their campus. But they're not moving towards 100% because they're still getting that drift of secondhand smoke, and people are complaining. But that is options that people do for certain areas. And, if that's something you don't want to take away all the space, as you were mentioning. So.
What about employees of the town who wish to smoke on breaks while they're doing work?
So most towns we provide cessation resources, or the town would provide that if they are, not able to use on the grounds, do whatever you want outside of work, but during, on town property, you're not allowed to use these products.
You stated that these other towns have, I don't know, you said, I don't know, the rules, regulations, laws, it makes a difference. I mean, a town can pass a policy
Right.
saying we disapprove, they can pass rules and regulations in the workplace, there's a lot of different things that the town can do. I mean, it goes all the way up to making it a violation, I suppose. So what have these other towns done?
So most of it is just kind of, passing the policy through the town board vote and amending, code. But Harrington actually it is punitive because they figure, if we could make some money off of this. So that's the only one that is punitive. Usually we kind of avoid that approach, but, if someone is caught, there's a fine and the town collects the money for it. So that's something that they kind of focus on.
Who enforces that? They don't have a police force apparently. Who enforces it?
It's basically like, the employers who work the maintenance, or, a self-enforcing policy. So many of the college campuses are kind of self-enforcing, there's signs and people hand out cards, or, you'll notice a lot of families, if you're in a non-smoke environment and their children are around and you're smoking, they will actually step up and say, this is a non-smoking park and my children are here. And so we've noticed that a lot as well.
Well, obviously, enforcement is a huge issue. That's a major one, and then the other parts, of course, are local town boards that do.
Yeah, and Charlie, I'm really glad you asked those questions, because I had kind of a leg up on this because Patty and I had met with Lexi and Janine a couple weeks ago. Actually, about as we start to discern as a board the opt-in or opt-out for recreational marijuana. And because that's coming. I mean, we're 6 months away from January 1st, 2022, but the meeting conversation segued into the town park aspect, and as Lexi and Janine educated Patty and I on the fact that several municipalities have done this. So I was like, well, that's interesting. So when I go to the monthly supervisors meeting luncheon, just last week when I went, I floated the question out there, and they corroborated, several of them said, yeah, but what I was interested in is then it kind of created a 10-minute conversation of the reasons why each one did it. It's very interesting, and I was going to ask them for, can I see what did you do? Did you do a law? Did you do a policy? All of that stuff, so we are considering this in the future, taking a look at some precedents of what other municipalities have done, and if you want to call it right-sizing it for Webster, because, I got to be honest with you, that handing someone a card and saying you owe $75, oh my God. I can't even imagine that. They really do that?
We usually don't push on punitive approaches,
Holy
we're more
cow.
educational, but they did, I
That's-
think it's a $500.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Last time.
Well, hey, but I was going to get that, Charlie, and kind of just take a look at how each municipality has done it, whether it's code, law, ordinance, all these different things.
How is it enforced?
Well, that's all.
Well, that's a great-
Ultimately, how is it enforced?
I mean, if it's part of a social contract and people are just told this is not permitted and is relying on the goodwill of people,
Yeah.
that's fine, but you're always gonna run into somebody that is going to say,
And if you do, I mean, our police department is going to be out there enforcing this.
I don't think that's the expectation. It's the same thing if you think about mask wearing and all those other things.
Yeah.
It is a social, part of the social contract. In the interest of everybody, general health, right?
Okay, right?
Well, and I will say this, you go to the golf course, you smoke a cigar, smoke cigarettes outside. I agree with you, Bill, it dissipates, or whatever you want to call it, within 10 feet. I had the experience, I'll call it, of going to a mortgage conference about 5 years ago in downtown Denver. And I got out of the cab or the Uber in front of the Marriott Marquis Convention Center for this thing, and holy cow. I mean, marijuana smoke is pungent, and it doesn't dissipate within 10 feet. And that's what's coming down the pike. And I'm not sitting here saying whether I'm for or against people smoking marijuana, because I could give a long dissertation about how 500 years ago, if things went different in society, marijuana would be the accepted way to party, if you want to call it, and alcohol would be the, one that was looked down upon. But I'll say to that details. But it does go beyond 10 feet. And you wonder, especially if we're going to be doing stuff in our parks, the enjoyment of our residents, the kids in those parks. I don't know, it just makes you think. And I'm not big on taking people's rights away and, but it's something that we'll do a little more. I will get the law, code, whatever. I didn't ask that. How do you enforce it out? I mean, I can tell you, I'm gonna stand up and say, if we go down this path, we aren't having a punitive fine, because that's unbelievable. But Barry, to your point, how do those other places enforce it? Is it really kind of a social contract and whatever? We didn't get into that discussion with supervisors. But I'll get some of that stuff from them, Charlie, and kind of noodle through it and see, and bring it back to the board, in a little bit more, I don't know, because I don't know, whether it'll be in parallel with,
I don't think so. sir?
Well, I'm just saying, we're running out of time.
We're on the
So-
cusp of building a beautiful park.
Very good
on the
point.
Sandbar. And I really approach this as more of a social contract, and just taking a stance that we believe in a healthy community. And this is one step to proclaim that just a little bit more, a little more emphasis on it. And I know that we don't want to be punitive and we don't want to be enforcing it to that level, but the statement itself will still, I think, decrease the amount of people who are smoking and vaping in our parks.
Just to piggyback off that, you know, if anyone has personal ties to tobacco, and I lost 2 grandparents from smoking related disease, you know, younger than they should have. And my dad suffered from asthma as a child because they smoked around him. Same with my brother when a grandparent smoked around him as well. So, I mean, just in terms of setting the precedent, you know, how many people die from smoking-related disease every year and tobacco-related disease, it's, you know, it's staggering. And I think moving in, I get, you know, some smoker, they can do whatever they want, but to protect other people, you know, 3,000 people in New York State die every year from secondhand smoking. So
Well, the school district, I know, has had a policy for probably the better part of a decade and more, of no smoking in school grounds. It seems to have worked, but I don't know, I haven't seen what the effect has been if anybody insists on doing anything, exactly.
I think there are a lot of, in hospital campuses, there's no smoking.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of workplaces that have gone to this. And again, we're not taking away the rights, it's just not there.
They're taking away the right to smoke there outside, so I kind of disagree with that.
actually, I have a bunch of fact sheets too as well that kind of reiterate some of those points and concerns in terms of, you know, not having a constitutional right to smoke in general. And some other fact sheets about policies and benefits that some large-scale employees have noticed, you know, Seneca Park Zoo, Frontier Field, Blue Cross Arena, Nazareth, St. John Fisher. I'm working with SUNY Geneseo now, University of Rochester. They've all gone tobacco-free, and they have unions, and they've worked with, you know, so they've gone some bigger obstacles, but they've all gone in that direction. So they do have anecdotal evidence and things like that to kind of how they enforce it. So I can really pass that along, kind of help you guys kind of vet through those arguments as well.
It's an interesting one. You know, I love the libertarian philosophy. You know, you live your life, I live mine, and everything, but it doesn't work in the real world a lot of times. We do affect the people around us.
Well, the policy is to discourage the use of tobacco. We had a policy of a smoke-free environment that would be there to discourage the use of tobacco, but there wouldn't be enforcement of it. So, we have a lot of places, they discourage it, they tell you smoke-free environment, and it becomes one, except for once in a while.
Does anybody know, like, I mean, I've had Bill's game for 2 years, but Bill's 80,000 people outdoor venue. You smoke at Bill's game?
You don't know. It's specifically.
That's what they have, like those huts.
Yeah, with the smoke.
But if you were, that's interesting, because if you were smoking out in the grandstand, I call it, how do they enforce it? It is kind of
I don't think they do. Unless it's those of the one area.
Right, but if you're not, anyway, there's a lot of- you know what?
No, it all comes down to if somebody complains, then there's enforcement.
Thanks.
I'm not going to carry a card that you guys have paid for. Let me tell you something.
That would be wise.
Dad, I gotta tell you, Dad, wow, Parenting?
Last time I checked their policy.
I gotta talk to, I think that's Kieran.
There's Catherine, Mark.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And proving that red eyes are for young people. If I took a red eye last night, I would be in traction and asleep right now.
Listen, I stopped in the airport, we gotta make it work.
Jeez.
you come back from Phoenix?
I was in Sedona, actually, yeah.
So did you fly Southwest?
Delta,
Delta.
yeah. The fires were very active when I left, so, yeah,
And how was the climb?
amazing. I made it back down safely. Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
I forgot what you call it.
Half dome in Yosemite.
Yeah,
All
impressive.
by myself, yeah.
That's great.
So I made it.
All right.
But I'll send the information along, definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lex.